Oh, but Knight Morrison, we must follow the proper channels, right? Because that's worked so well for the past 3 cycles. I drum my fingers against the polished surface of my station, earning disapproving looks from Ambassador Keith Ricks, all 6 of their eyes narrowing simultaneously. If they think that's annoying, they should see what humans can do with pen clicking. I briefly considered demonstrating this ancient human art of irritation, but decide to save that particular weapon for when I really need it. The chamber itself is a testament to the galaxy's love of overwrought architecture. Soaring crystalline spires reach towards a ceiling that's practically in orbit, and the walls shimmer with bioluminescent patterns that supposedly represent the unity of all species. Personally, I think it looks like someone let a cosmic toddler go wild with glow in the dark paint. But that's the kind of observation that got me reprimanded during my first week as a Galactic Knight. The chair recognizes the honorable representative from the Xylaxian Confederation, Drone's High Counselor Vex, their crystalline form shimmering with what I've learned to recognize as barely contained irritation. The patterns rippling across their surface remind me of that time I dropped an antacid tablet into a glass of water, which, coincidentally, was also during my first week here, when I discovered that what passes for coffee in the council cafeteria could probably strip paint. The Xylaxian spic. Picture a cross between a peacock and a jellyfish with an ego the size of Jupiter. Rises to their full height of 12 feet. I've always thought they evolved from something like Earth sea anemones. If sea anemones had developed a passionate love for bureaucracy and Baroque fashion, this particular specimen is wearing what appears to be the Xylaxian equivalent of a 3-piece suit, complete with shimmering tendrils arranged in what I'm told is this season's most fashionable pattern. We must consider the economic implications of intervention. The trade routes through the Sentinel sector. I can't help it. I laugh. Not a polite chuckle, mind you, but a full-blown probably going to get me kicked out of the council laugh. The kind of laugh that would have gotten me sent to the principal's office back in school if I hadn't already been permanently assigned a desk there. Every alien head in the chamber swivels toward me. Some species I didn't even know swivel their heads. The silence is deafening, broken only by the soft hum of the environmental systems and what I swear is the sound of collective disapproval. It's a sound I've become intimately familiar with during my tenure as the first, and possibly last. At this rate, human Galactic Knight, something amuses you. Knight Morrison? Vex asks, their crystalline structure now pulsing with dangerous hues of orange and red. I've started keeping a mental color chart of their moods. Orange is severely annoyed, and red is considering whether humans were. We see a lot of orange and red these days. Oh, absolutely everything. I reply, standing up. At 5'10", I'm practically a dwarf in this gathering, but I've learned that confidence and sheer audacity go a long way. Plus, it helps that my combat suit adds a few inches. The suit, a masterpiece of human engineering combined with alien tech, is another source of constant consternation for the Council. They seem to think that wearing powered armor to diplomatic meetings sends the wrong message. Cupid sends exactly the right message. Humans come prepared. We're sitting here in our climate-controlled chamber, debating trade routes while the Sentinels, those people who've been our allies for the past 50 years, are being slaughtered by pirates who, might I add, we've been warned about for months. The mention of the Sentinels causes a ripple of discomfort through the chamber. The Sentinel species, imagine if trees could evolve into humanoids while keeping their connection to nature, have been one of the most peaceful and productive members of the galactic community. They're also one of the few species that actually likes humans, probably because we share their inexplicable love of growing things for fun. My office in the Knight's Quarter has more plants than some botanical gardens, most of them gifts from Sentinel Diplomat. There are procedures. The Xylaxian begins, their tendrils writhing in what I've come to recognize as their species equivalent of finger-wagging. Procedures? I interrupt, earning several gasps. Nobody interrupts in the council. It's just not done. Well, surprise, surprise, humans do it all the time. Let me tell you about procedures. 3 months ago, I submitted a report detailing the increasing pirate activity in the sector. It was filed under spending review. 2 months ago, I presented evidence of weapons stockpiling. That was deemed inconclusive. Last month, I literally brought you a captured pirate who confessed to the planned invasion. Would you like to know what happened to that report? It was filed under requires additional verification. Vex admits quietly, their crystalline surface now showing hints of blue, the color of embarrassment or possibly indigestion. It's sometimes hard to tell with crystalline life forms. Exactly. I throw my hands up, the gesture amplified by my combat suit servos. A few of the more nervous species flinch. Good. And now we're here, watching in real time as an entire civilization burns because we're too busy worrying about proper channels. The chamber erupts in protests and objections. Various species begin talking over each other in a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and electromagnetic pulses. The universal translators struggle to keep up, creating a word soup of bureaucratic jargon and diplomatic doublespeak. I wait, standing there with what my mother would have called my shit-eating grin. Mom never did approve of that expression, but she also taught me that sometimes you need to be the biggest pain in the ass in the room to get things done. What would you have us do? Keith Ricks demands, their 6 eyes blinking in what I assume is meant to be an intimidating pattern. Abandon centuries of established Yes, I say simply. The chamber goes quiet again. They always do this when someone gives a straight answer. It confuses them. In a society built on saying everything in the most roundabout way possible, directness is practically a superpower. Look, I get it. You all think humans are primitive. We're violent, unpredictable, and we still think fart jokes are funny. But you know what else we are? We're really, really good at getting things done. I pull out my personal data pad. Another protocol violation. But at this point, who's counting? And project a holographic map of the Sentinel sector. The display fills the center of the chamber, casting everyone in an eerie blue light that makes them look like extras in a low-budget sci-fi movie. The pirates have established bases here, and here. Red dots appear on the map. They're using old mining colonies as cover, which means their shields are jury-rigged to mining equipment. One good electromagnetic pulse would shut them down, and you know this how. The Xylaxian demands their tendrils twisting into what I've learned is their species' equivalent of crossed arms, because unlike some people, I actually went there and looked. Crazy concept. I know. I zoom in on one of the bases. Their fleet is concentrated in 3 groups. They're not expecting resistance because they think they've got time while we're all sitting here debating procedure. We have exactly 6 hours before they start hitting civilian population centers. You cannot possibly expect us to mobilize a response in 6 hours. VX protests, their crystalline structure vibrating with alarm. The logistics already taken care of. I swipe right on my data pad, showing another display. This one shows a tactical overlay of the sector, complete with ship positions and combat readiness assessments. I have 3 human peacekeeping vessels in position, along with their crews who, might I add, volunteered their shore leave for this. The Androman Defense Force owes me a favor. Don't ask. And they've got 5 ships ready to go. All we need is council authorization. The chamber erupts again, but this time, I can see it in their faces, or whatever passes for faces among some species. They're impressed, even if they'd rather drink toxic waste than admit it. The fact that a primitive human managed to organize an international military response while they were still deciding which subcommittees should review the initial report is exactly the kind of thing that drives them crazy. This is unprecedented. Kathrick sputters, all 6 eyes blinking rapidly. The implications for interstellar law. You know what else is unprecedented? I counter, enlarging the hologram to show real-time footage from the Sentinel colonies, a Level 7 civilization being attacked by pirates while the Galactic Council debates procedure. Those colonies you're seeing, they're home to over 12 million sentients. Children, families, researchers, artists, people who trusted us to protect Sentinel defense platforms. Overwhelmed by superior numbers, civilian ships trying to evacuate under fire. colonial centers with their shields already failing. I make sure to focus on an image of a school complex, its bioorganic architecture scarred by weapons fire. But please, Ambassador Keith Ricks, tell me more about the implications for interstellar law. I'm sure those children will find it fascinating, assuming they live long enough to hear about it. Low blow. Maybe. Effective. Absolutely. I can see the shift in the chamber's atmosphere, the way various species start exchanging looks or their cultural equivalent of meaningful glances. Even the Xylaxian's tendrils have stopped their indignant rock. The council must vote. Veeks announces, but I can see their crystalline structure has shifted to a more contemplative blue. About time. We shall follow emergency protocols for immediate action. Of course. I agree pleasantly. And while you vote, I'm going to go ahead and send the launch codes to those ships I mentioned. Because in about 5 minutes, with or without your authorization, we're going to show those pirates why humans have a galaxy-wide reputation for being the crazy ones. That would be a direct violation of everything? I grin. Yeah, I know. Add it to my file. Right now. I care more about saving lives than saving face. I pause, then add, though if anyone's keeping score, I believe this would make it the 47th major protocol violation this quarter. I'm trying to break my personal record. That gets a few chuckles, quickly suppressed. Of course, from some of the younger representatives. The ones who secretly enjoy watching humans shake up the establishment, even if they'd never admit it publicly. I start walking toward the chamber doors, my boots echoing in the suddenly very quiet room. The combat suit servos whir softly with each step, a reminder that sometimes diplomacy needs to be backed up by the capability for direct action. Just before I reach them, I turn around. Oh, and one more thing. Those trade routes the Xylaxian Confederation is so worried about, they'll be a lot less profitable if there's no one left alive to trade with. Just something to consider while you're voting. The doors swoosh open, and I step through them, already activating my combat suit systems. Behind me, I hear the council erupting into chaos again, but I also hear Vex calling for an immediate vote. They'll approve the mission, of course. They always do. Once you back them into a corner with both logic and the threat of looking bad in front of their peers. It's just that sometimes they need a little human push. As I stride toward the hangar where my ship awaits, I pass dozens of alien bureaucrats and diplomats. Some avoid eye contact, some glare disapprovingly, and a few new. The ones who've worked with humans before give me subtle signs of approval. A tentacle twitch here, a color change there. The equivalent of a thumbs up from species that don't have thumbs. My ship, the diplomatic incident. Yes, I named it that specifically to annoy the council. Sits ready in the hangar. It's a beautiful piece of machinery, a hybrid of human ingenuity and alien technology. The sleek lines and aggressive profile make it look more like a predator than a diplomatic vessel, which is exactly the point. Sometimes the best way to avoid a fight is to make it clear you're ready for one. The pre-flight checklist begins automatically as I approach. The ship's AIG. Another thing that makes the council nervous. Running through systems checks with an efficiency that puts their committees to shame. I'd name the AI Murphy. After the famous law about everything that can go wrong will go wrong, it seemed appropriate for a ship dedicated to preventing exactly that. Good morning, Knight Morrison. Murphy greets me as I climb into the cockpit. I assume from your elevated heart rate and the priority alerts from the council chamber that we're about to do something either very brave or very stupid. You know me, Murphy. I reply, strapping in. Why choose when you can do both? Indeed. Shall I pre-file your violation reports, or would you prefer to let them pile up dramatically? I love my AI. Let them pile up. You know how much the council enjoys reading them all at once. Very well. Combat systems online. Weapons hot. Shield generators at maximum capacity. Would you like me to compose a suitably apologetic message to the ethics committee while we wait for launch clearance? No need, I say, checking the tactical display. The pirate fleet hasn't moved yet. They're still confident in their timeline. That's about to change. They'll be too busy trying to explain how they approved a military action in record time to worry about my methods. My comm unit chimes with an incoming message. It's from VFX. Authorization granted. May the cosmos preserve us from your methods. Too late. Or pine to last. The use of an emoticon. Yet another protocol violation. Will probably give at least 3 species an aneurysm. But hey, that's what they get for making a human a knight. As the diplomatic incident rises from its birth, I can't help but think about how this will go down in the official records. They'll probably say something flowery about unprecedented cooperation and swift diplomatic resolution. The after-action reports will be full of phrases like multilateral response and coordinated intervention. What they won't mention is how a single human managed to manipulate the entire council by playing on their fears, their pride, and their deep-seated need to appear civilized in front of each other. They won't talk about how sometimes the best way to navigate bureaucracy is to simply ignore it exists. And they definitely won't mention how the whole thing was resolved not through careful deliberation and proper channels, but because one very annoyed human decided enough wasn't. But that's okay. We humans know the truth. Sometimes the most powerful word is the one left unspoken, the action that speaks louder than any debate. Murphy, I call out as we break atmosphere, send word to the fleet. Operation Bureaucratic Oversights is a go. Message sent. Though I feel compelled to point out that naming our combat operations specifically to irritate the Council might be counterproductive to your long-term diplomatic career. I laugh as we accelerate toward our rendezvous point. Murphy, my friend, irritating the Council to my diplomatic career. Now let's go show these pirates why picking on peaceful species is a bad idea, especially when there are humans, of course, Knight Morrison. Though I suspect this incident will require significantly more paperwork than usual. That's fine. I reply, checking our weapon systems one last time. We'll file it under cultural exchange it, teaching pirates about humanity's unique approach to conflict resolution. And what approach would that be? I grin as the first pirate ships appear on our long-range scanners. Some might call it insubordination. I call it getting the job done. But then again, I'm just a primitive human. What do I know about galactic civilization? Log entry. Beginning combat operations. Time to show these pirates why humans have a galaxy-wide reputation for being the crazy ones. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. And Tori. You know what's funny about being the only human in an intergalactic council of supposedly superior species? Everything. Take today, for instance. Here I am sitting in this absurdly oversized chamber designed for beings 3 times my size, watching a collection of the galaxy's finest representatives bicker about proper protocol while an entire civilization is quite literally being invaded by space pirates. I mean, seriously. We're debating parliamentary procedure while people are dying.